So hello, thank you very much for joining me here in this presentation about learning English and Spanish through online reviews. I'm going to discuss the objective and the justification to choosing this topic. I will briefly discuss genre-based and corpus-based pedagogies. I will indicate with the group characteristics and materials, and then I'll go into the activities overview, which is the most important part in this presentation. Then finally, I will provide some conclusions after the presentation. So the justification for choosing this topic, which is basically using online reviews in teaching English as a foreign language and Spanish as a foreign language as well, it would be that now we are into a digital age that has transformed written language usage. We don't write letters anymore, right? We don't teach how to write a letter, formal letter anymore in our classes. Now we have to adapt to new context that we have. Which is, for example, writing online reviews. It's a very, very common context. It's a very common text when you want to buy something. Usually you take a look at reviews. So you need to know how to write one, because maybe you want to write, in some environment that is foreign, there is in English or there is in Spanish, and it's not your native language. And also you need to understand, right, what they say. So we need to talk about the conventions of this genre and the information we should provide in this genre. So we're talking about application stores. We have, for example, Google's Play Store. We have App Store in Apple, right? So we need to teach the characteristics of these modern text types and these environments in our language classes. So the objective of this presentation is to contribute to the improvement of foreign language teaching in English and Spanish with up-to-date language knowledge. How are we going to do it? We're sharing some ideas about the introduction of the genre of application store reviews in the classroom. So what is genre-based pedagogy? Well, it emphasizes using language purposefully for communicative and social interactions. So the purpose in a communication is very important. We avoid repetition drills, for example. But we focus on a communicative purpose. It focuses on specific genres as well, their sociocultural characteristics and the linguistic choices that are made inside that context, and also facilitating targeted language learning. On the other hand, corpus-based pedagogy uses collections of authentic text to teach the language. It leverages real language examples over constructed ones, and it assists learners in understanding specific linguistic features. So the group that this is aimed at will be intermediate level of students, even though depending on the activity, maybe you can adapt it to lower or higher levels, because what we propose is that the questions should be adapted instead of the text. So by using the same text, you can create a very wide variety of options. Just by adapting the questions. And it should be a small to medium-sized group from 5 to 30 students. The materials the basic materials are the internet, our projectors, students' mobile devices, in case you want to carry out, for example, you want to do a Kahoot activity or a quizzes activity. But again, you can adapt it so that you have different means to do it, maybe on paper. So there are ways to adapt it. So it's not absolutely necessary. We need Google Play Store because it's the environment we're going to be dealing with. And then we need a corpus. You may collect a corpus yourself, so you can go to Google Play Store and then collect some reviews. You're probably going to get many because it's time-consuming, so you're going to get just a bunch of them. But if you take a look at this publication, writing online reviews in the volume New Ways in Teaching with Corpora, a resource book, then you will find a link to a corpus that I collected myself some years ago that includes different reviews from different categories, like from video games, games for the mobile, right? Applications, music, so reviews about different items that you could find in Google Play Store. And then you have quite a lot, okay? You have quite a lot of reviews in that corpus is very big. So Some of the activities you can do, I've divided them into introduction, practice, and reinforcement. So you have some first activities to introduce the different aspects. I'm going to focus on the genre conventions, the vocabulary, and the grammar. So you can find activities to introduce these aspects, then to practice them, and then to reinforce them. So the objectives of this introduction, this introductory part, would be that students become aware of the characteristics of the review genre and that they eventually know the specific vocabulary and grammar used in reviews. And then some activities we can do are some brainstorming activities about the characteristics of reviews, about the useful vocabulary they can use, about the grammatical features they can find in this type of text. Then some other activities we can do would be exploring Play Store reviews. So we have some reading here. You can see that the skill used is in brackets, it's in parentheses. So the brainstorming would be a speaking activity, or they would be using the speaking skill. Then if they have to explore Play Store reviews, that would be reading. If they have to reflect on relevant vocabulary, that would be reading, just taking a look at the reviews, and then speaking with a partner, for example, just to say what the relevant vocabulary they think it is. They think is, based on the reviews they've seen. And finding common tenses and grammatical style would be the same. They have to take a look at the reviews, and then this side will be the main tenses that they have to use in this type of genre in these online reviews. What are the structures they have to use? And then another activity would be comparing reviews. Maybe the teacher can read them aloud, and then they have to compare a review about an application and a review about music, right? So they can just compare if they're all the same. They share some specific features and they don't share some others. They can compare frequent items. These would be, again, reading and speaking. So they read the reviews, they talk to a partner, and comparing grammatical aspect would be the same. So they take, a couple of reviews, they have to compare what they have in them. The second part, we have the practice. So students should apply the knowledge presented before. So after everything is clear in the introduction, students should have some knowledge about the structures they should use, the vocabulary they should use, and the conventions of the genre that they should follow. So once that's clear, then they should practice. What can we do to practice it? Well, we can, for example, ask students to change the register. So we're going to see that it's very informal, but then we can change the register to see how it doesn't fit, right? To see how it's weird to write an online review with a very formal register. That would be writing. They can also match these reviews and applications. So they have a review, an application. So you have to choose a review where the name of the application is not mentioned, or you just remove it. And then they have to deduce about what the writer is talking about. And the same with the star rating. So they have to decide, based on the review, how many stars from 1 to 5, being 5 the best. How many stars were given to the review? So was it a very positive review? Was it a bad review? So that would be reading and speaking. Again, we read the review, we discuss with a partner. We also have sporting learners reviews, so writing and reading. In this case, we have the students who compare which reviews are written by students and which ones are real. They have to identify. That way they can see mistakes and things to improve. Identify applications. I would be also thinking about what application might these be talking about instead of a matching exercise. So these would be a bit more difficult. Identifying star ratings. Again, thinking about how many. So instead of giving them the solutions and they have to match, they will have to think. So it's a bit more difficult. And correcting tenses for grammar, we have we may take a review and make some mistakes. All right, so we can change it so that is incorrect, and they have to correct the mistakes. Or maybe they have to change it so that instead of talking about the past, it talks about the future, so that students see how it doesn't fit in the conventions of the genre, because you cannot review something you have not used. And then finally, the reinforcement, the objective here would be to apply knowledge presented before, but in different means, so in a different way to those in the practice. So we can express opinion about applications. So that would be a speaking exercise. They can create a review, but in a spoken way instead of in a written way. But they can also write a review. They can translate a review. So they change from language to language. Then they can have some vocabulary and some grammar close exercises. They can write a review with a vocabulary pool, so they have some key terms taken from the most common words used in this kind of reviews, and they have to use them in the writing exercise. And also the same, but with grammar. So they have a tense review, a tense pool, or they have a verb pool, and they have to create a review with those verbs or tenses given. So you can see in the conclusions now, we can see that integrating genres emerging from new communication contexts like application and store not only makes learning more interesting and practical because it's something very useful that they probably have to use in the future. Maybe they already use it, but also aligns with evolving societal and communicative needs. So the activities proposed here have a varied use of resources. We have ICTs, we have pen and paper, and also the use of real material in real contexts. They also work on the main aspects of the review. So we have the general conventions with the structure, the purpose, the register, and language. So we have vocabulary and grammar. We use the 4 skills: reading, listening, writing, speaking. And we also have a progression from more receptive skills to more productive skills. And also we have individual and pair work. So it's very varied, and I hope that you like these activities, that you find them useful, and that you can introduce them in your classroom. If you want to know more about these activities, I will be writing the whole chapter in the volume, so you can read more once that it's published. So thank you very much. I will see you next time.